Hi guys, it is Mich Abiero for Project Fmile. If you're new here, Project Fmile is a project that was started with an aim of spreading awareness on mental health and suicide in Kenya. If you're coming back, thank you so much, and if you're already liking our content, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the notification bell. We try our best to post videos regularly. So yes, first off, I would like to thank you guys so much for the support that I have received on our last video. The last video that we did, we basically talked about how epilepsy affected my mental health, and that meant being very vulnerable in front of the camera and being just talking about experiences that have hurt me and epilepsy and all. And the support that I've received was overwhelming. I was so touched by it, and I was also touched by the fact that people were getting educated on what epilepsy is. So thank you so much for that support that you gave us on our last video. Another announcement that we have is that Project Fmile had decided to launch an online support group. We will have information on that on our website, so do check it out. The link is in our description, www.fmile.wordpress.com. so do check it out. The link is in our description. And the reason why we are having an online support group is simply because there are not so many support groups for people who are battling things in their life. You don't have to have a mental disorder in order to join our support group. You don't have to have that. You just, we're all human beings. We all have things that we're battling in our lives. I have things that I'm battling in my life. You have things that you're battling in your life. So sometimes we just need that support system to talk it through. Yeah, exactly. So that's why we decided to create this. And we also kept in mind that our followers and supporters are in different regions, and it is impossible for us to have like physical meetings, where we meet in person. But we will work on us having like an actual support group where we meet in person in different cities in Kenya at the moment. So yeah, let's get into today's video. Video we're talking about self-harm. Now, our first video that we ever did on YouTube was on self-harm and suicide. I will link it down in the description box. Now, I watched that video, and I realized there are things that I would have wanted to include in that video, so I decided to create a whole other video just to kind of put the missing points, the things that I did not say in that video. So yes, first off, I feel like we should start with definition. Here's the thing. I feel like self-harm is something everyone knows but cannot define it. And one thing we associate self-harm with is cutting ourselves. Like you see, you say self-harm, people automatically think of people with like scars on their wrists and all that. And I don't think that's the right image of self-harm. I mean, it is true to a certain extent, but I don't feel it's the right image. And that's because there are things that we do not automatically recognize as self-harm, and that's the whole point of this video. We're going to talk about things that are self-harm but we do not recognize as self-harm. So yeah, let's define self-harm. So self-harm is the deliberate injury to oneself, typically as a manifestation of a psychiatric or psychological disorder. Second thing is, why do people self-harm? So the three reasons I have here why someone could self-harm. First off, it is to punish themselves. As I've said, it's deliberate injury to oneself. So it being injury and it being something that's deliberate, you feeling that you are responsible for the things that are going on in your life, and this is your method of punishing yourself for the things that are going on in your life and are not exactly necessarily your fault, but you do feel it is your fault, so you decide to punish yourself. Another reason why people do self-harm is to release tension, what is going on in their lives, just find it as a way of releasing that tension, releasing that stress. So yeah, the other reason that people self-harm is to express, communicate, or document pain. Now, people who self-harm are not exactly the best at expressing what they feel, and that's why they self-harm. They cut themselves, they fail to eat, and all that. We'll get into the things that we don't recognize as self-harm. So yeah, it's to express, communicate, or document pain. Now here I have about 9 symptoms, 9 things that we do not recognize as self-harming that are actually self-harming. Now one thing you have to keep in mind is that it has to be deliberate injury to oneself. One symptom of one thing that people do that is self-harming that we don't recognize is under or overeating. Now with overeating or undereating, we talked about it in the video where we talked about eating disorders. I will link it down in the description box again. So the 3 eating disorders: bulimia, anorexia, and binge eating disorder. So under overeating, the people who overeat to deal with their emotional distress. So as I said, it's really harmful to yourself when you're overeating. When you're undereating, again, you are not giving your body the calories that it needs, hence you'll be tired, you'll be weak, and all that. So yeah, it is self-harming. Another thing that people do is sleep deprivation. Now every human being needs a certain hours of sleep that they need to function. For some people it's 6 hours, some people it's 8 hours, some people it's 10 hours. I need about 7 to 8 hours to function normally as a person. So yes, when you intentionally deprive yourself of sleep to make yourself suffer, you are self-harming, you are hurting yourself, and that's one hidden symptom of self-harming that you've not recognized. Another symptom or another thing is over exercising. Again, this is tied to eating disorders. As I said, the 3 eating disorders: bulimia, anorexia, and binge eating disorders. So with over exercising, again, it ties down to the issue of there are also a certain amount of calories that your body needs to do its regular activities during its day. So yeah, when you do this, you are intentionally causing harm to your own body, and you don't realize that. It is very common in people with eating disorders. 4 is eating or drinking things you are allergic to. Now if you have allergies, you do know you will try to avoid your allergens. Personally, I'm allergic to pollen, so yes, I will avoid my personal best to I will do my personal best to avoid pollen. I will do my personal best. But when you find yourself exposing yourself to things that you're allergic to, especially if you know, for example, you're allergic to nuts and you find yourself eating nuts, I think that's harmful, and you know very well you're deliberately causing yourself this pain and harm, and you could end up going into anaphylactic shock. So that is something really dangerous, and if you see a loved one doing that, please do talk to them. Please do talk to them. And I said, if any loved one of yours is exhibiting any of these signs, please do talk to them. Watching things to make yourself feel worse on purpose. Now I feel like these are watching things that are generally triggering for you. The best example I could give here, for example, a trigger. Let's say a trigger. Let's put it as a trigger. Now, for example, if you have post-traumatic stress disorder or something of the sort, you would try your best to avoid anything that triggers bad memories. You would find yourself avoiding them. But when you intentionally do things or watch things that make you feel worse, that is very dangerous, and that's a hidden symptom or a hidden symptom of self-harm. Yeah. For example, if guns trigger you and you find yourself walking into a gun shop wanting to be there, that's something dangerous. Another symptom is isolating yourself. Now, with isolating yourself, the key thing to analyze here is the purpose of why you're isolating yourself. You could be isolating yourself from people so as to find yourself and things of the sort. But if you're isolating yourself in order to cause yourself pain, then that is a hidden symptom of self-harming. Overspending. Okay, I know we all know a spendthrift. We all know somebody who likes spending money. But when you find yourself overspending and kind of living beyond your means and leading yourself into financial constraints intentionally, it could be either a sign you have borderline personality disorder or you are self-harming. So yeah, that is something you definitely need to seek help for. Another symptom is burning. And now we have talked about cutting yourself. That was the whole intention of our first video. Cutting yourself, that is self-harm. That's what we associate with self-harm. But there are other symptoms like burning yourself. You find someone just, with a flame, burning themselves, causing themselves wound, inflicting pain on themselves. And aside from that, you find people who prevent their wounds from healing, and that's a symptom of self-harm. Now, the ninth one on our list is hair pulling. Now, if you find yourself pulling your hair, this is self-harm. Sometimes okay, it is self-harm, and there is a medical term for it. It is trichotillomania. So these are some of the 9 hidden symptoms of self-harming, or symptoms that we do not recognize as self-harming. The question is what to do, how to help somebody, or how to help yourself when you notice any of these symptoms. First off, it is to seek help. Now, we do understand, especially in Kenya, there are not as many psychiatrists or help places to get help, but we do have partners we have a partner, which is Oasis Specialty Hospital. They are a psychiatric hospital based in Nairobi, so do check them out. 2, if you are trying to seek help, please do reach us on DM at Project Fmile on Instagram and Twitter, and we will refer you to somebody you're able to get help from, and that will be either a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to follow us on all our social media platforms at Project Fmile on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure to follow me on my my personal handles. If you want to get to know me a little bit personally, follow me on Twitter at Mich This is my username. Follow me on Twitter at I am Abiero and on Instagram at I am Abiero. Thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Bye.